Stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
So our speaker today is from the League of Women Voters. This was a group that was founded in the 1920s. It was a successor to the women's suffrage movement. Before August of 1920, there were certain groups in this country that couldn't vote, including women. So the 19th Amendment was put forth. It was passed by all the states, et cetera, giving everyone the right to vote. And from that, it started out as the National American Women's Suffrage Association and morphed into the League of Women Voters. So I'm going to let Amy Kleisis is her name. I'm going to let her give you the information on the League of Women Voters.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Always get chills from the Star-Spangled Banner. How many veterans are in here? Now, if I talked to a bunch of younger folks, they wouldn't raise their hands, right? We wouldn't have as much representation. So thank you for your service. It's great to be here. I'm so excited. I live in Robinson, so it was easy to drop down the hill and come on over here. So I'm thinking the lights should go off and it might be a little better. So my name, Amy Kleisis. I'm the Director of Civic Education in Schools and Community. And our league has kind of exploded with our civic education focus. Our motto, as you can see, is empowering voters and defending democracy. And we have about 300 members, and we're not for women only. We have lots of different members, family members, young people. We have free memberships for age 16 and older if they're students. So if you have any grandkids, anyone that's interested in our democracy, they can join for free. We have a wealth of information. I'm going to walk through our really comprehensive website, which is kind of a little known secret. Some folks use it, some folks know about us, others don't. And then we'll have time for Q&A for sure. We're totally volunteer. We have an office manager who's part-time, and that's it. The rest of everything we do is through our amazing volunteers who are really, really dedicated and passionate about our democracy and about all we can do to help voters and citizens know more about everything. So mostly like, civic education for all. We continue to build these unique, original resources. And we have gotten kind of some national, people looking at us now. So I'll tell you more about that. Everything we do is free. Everything we do is downloadable. We share our presentations, we share our lessons, we share our graphics. Everything is free. Let's see, there we go. So our League of Women Voters is 501c3, nonprofit, nonpartisan organization. We do not support or oppose any candidate or political party. We start out every classroom lesson with this and every time we talk to anyone. a 50-year member had an anniversary celebration. And she said, "I joined the League to keep democracy intact. I joined the League because it was nonpartisan calm in the midst of a partisan storm." So in these challenging times, we really take this nonpartisan stance very seriously with all the students we register to vote, any new voters, and anyone who comes to us for information. We have partnerships within our community with a lot of people, and these partnerships have just grown. We partner with the National Council of Negro Women, which is as old an organization as ours. We partner with the National Council of Jewish Women, with BPEP, VEAM, if you're familiar with them, JCC, AKA, the Committee of 70. We have this really vibrant partnership with them. They're located in Philly, but they're a powerful group. Pittsburgh Public Schools, the YWCA, Carnegie Libraries, and the Heinz History Museum. So we have sort of, reached out our hands and tried to involve as many community members as possible in all that we do. So now I'd like to ask you some questions. How many of you have heard of the League of Women Voters? Okay. How many of you have ever gone to our website, our local website for information? Ooh, a couple, all right. And when you went, did you find what you were looking for?
I think so.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to update you on that so that this becomes a resource for you and your families. Because how many of you agree elections and voting can be confusing? Yes, we do not make it easy, right? Young people especially feel that way. So, okay, whoops. There we go. So a little history. As Mark said, we were created in 1920 after an 80-year struggle to get the vote. So in the 19th Amendment gave women the right to vote. And I think it's kind of interesting to look at this plank of these planks. This is their first issue. These are the issues that the women wanted to educate other women about before they voted in 1920. Child welfare, education, home and high prices. Sound familiar? Women in gainful occupations, public health and morale, independent citizenship for married women. Because at that time, women who were married could not be citizens independently, right? And so there's a little information here about the Cable Act of 1922. Anyway, it took about 20 more years before women actually had their own legal identity. So that's like the 40s, which isn't that long ago. So even though, these issues are still on our radar today, we can say progress has been made. And we believe we have a vibrant democracy when all citizens participate. And one way we promote is to become super voters. And that means voting in every single election, in the primaries and the general elections. And there are no off years. How many of you are super voters? And I suspect a lot of you. Yeah, that's just exactly what all the statistics say. All right, so I'm going the wrong way here. Uh-oh. All right, now what do I do?
The wheel backwards.
Wheel backwards. Okay. We did a presentation to a national audience that was sponsored by the League of Women Voters, U.S., and the National Institute of Civil Discourse. And this was the title, It's Not Your Grandmother's Civic Ed, and Teaching Hope and Agency to the Next Generation. We're not only passionate about voting, we're really passionate about the next generation. They have been through a lot, and when we go into high schools, we see this firsthand. And so I want to share a little bit about our successful high school outreach. It's expanded over 6 years. And for many years, the League of Women Voters US and the Pennsylvania League of Women Voters have really promoted high school and college university registration for students. But beginning in 2017, our local league, with a grant from the League of Women Voters US, directed us to reach out to high schools in resilient high schools, in resilient communities. And so we used free and reduced lunch statistics to reach out originally to 19 high schools. Now we make our program available to everyone. Not everyone, asked for it, but we learned a lot along the way. If you read the news, you know that interest in civic education for students especially has just, grown exponentially. And many, many states are working on better curriculums for students. But when I took leadership, we realized, we listened to teachers, we listened to students, and we realized that when we try to register young voters, they don't have the context to understand what the vote means. So that was sort of our goal now, to provide some context before we register students to vote. It's sort of like, I registered, but now what? So there were two reasons for this. As STEM got more popular, social studies sort of became not off the radar. They stopped using social studies as part of the Pennsylvania standards-based system. So of course, emphasis and funding then goes away. Upper level courses are now just electives. So really sort of your top students take social studies in 11th, 10th, 11th. Well, 10th they might still have a world history, but 11th and 12th grade. So that was one reason. And the second reason was civics for most students in Pennsylvania happened in 9th grade. So by the time they were seniors, they were just completely disconnected from the process of what does it mean to be participants in our democracy. So we did make this program available, and we decided early on that every time we would register someone, we would try to provide some context as far as civic education. The other thing we really learned was that the classroom was a place to really make this happen. A lot of voter drives all concentrate on lunchrooms, cafeterias, assemblies, and we found that just wasn't effective. We really wanted to be face-to-face with kids. This year, we've reached over 1,000 students, and about half of them registered to vote. And totally in these 6 years, we've reached about 4,000 students in our area. We actually went into Westmoreland County this year, which was really, really fun. So we promote these concrete actions that kids can take. This is the agency part. Registering to vote, becoming a participant in our democracy, researching candidates and issues. And we always talk about the process, but we never talk about the who, or the how, not the who. So, kids ask us, who should we vote for? What party should we join? We're like, well, that's up to you. You need to do your research. We're giving you the tools, and we display our faith in them that they can do this, that they can discover that it's really an important thing to do, and that it makes you feel like you're becoming an adult when you register to vote. So it's in the classroom, when we're face to face with students, that we most effectively teach with a hopeful faith in our democracy, and where we can promote a sense of agency for kids. If any of you, I have a counseling background, and if any of you know, having a purpose and feeling you can do something to affect yourself is an antidote to depression and anxiety. And so the more we can help kids know that we're kind of rooting for them to do things, the better for them. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate. I'm going to open up questions here in a minute, too. I'll get the hang of this. Okay, wait, there we go. All right, so I want to show you a video just to kind of illustrate what this was all about. Let's see if I can successfully turn this on. WQED came and filmed us in 2020, right before the pandemic. All right.
Don't have to complete discuss with your classmates.
How many of you already are registered to vote? Right now in your lives, there's a lot of things that you can't control. So that is something that's totally in your control.
I think it really showed the reality of voting for like teens, especially because like we think that like our vote doesn't really matter, and maybe like the media shows us that older generations rule or output of like, whatever happens in the world. It shows that like us teens have a right to vote and like we can make a difference in the world.
I think the problem with Generation Z is that nothing really excites them, that there's not a defining issue to vote. Like when the children that grew up in the 60s and the Vietnam War was very, very, very heavy on them, and the issue with civil rights and social justice, that these were constantly in their minds.
Do you think 18 is old enough, mature enough for most people to vote?
I think so, because that's like around the time where you're starting to like really realize that you are your own person and you have to take some responsibility.
I'm just excited because I feel like voting does make a difference.
What was that like to fill that out?
Kind of exciting. It represents coming of age. It represents that now that you are entrusted to make decisions that will impact you, not only you, but people that are younger than you and yet people that are older than you.
I have strong opinions about gun laws, but especially in school.
We only have one Earth, and recently you've seen a lot of studies where you can tell that it's changing and it can be hurting a lot of people, and I feel like politicians aren't doing enough to address that.
My biggest worry right now is like how I'm gonna pay for college, because like my family is really big. We have 7 kids and I'm like directly in the middle, so I'm trying to focus on how to pay off my student loans and like graduate without a lot of debt.
I think that people should use their voices to go make a difference for the better of all of us.
Okay. So pretty inspiring. We were inspired by these kids. They were not coached at all either. All right, so now I'd like to talk about civic education across the lifespan. Because when we started working on our website 2.5 years ago, we began creating graphics. We wanted to kind of condense all this important information into something with words and pictures that could get across the point without a lot of reading. And so we started this voter resource library, and we needed a website that could house all these things. It's kind of how it evolved. And then, we decided, well, let's just do a new website. So we started with the Club Express website, if any of you are familiar with that platform. So after leaving, high school and college, you just don't get civic education delivered anymore. Any historians in here? Anybody? History is your background? You can double check me on my facts and figures. Okay. But we have to track down this information ourselves. And our webmaster, Ruth Quint, calls this graduating to Google. How many of you Google a lot? It's like second nature now to us, right? Think about the last time you had questions about your state legislature or voting rights or election administration. And you started online, and Ruth's son says, "Mom, just ask your phone." So that's what we do. And when someone in Allegheny County asks their phone, we hope that we get shown up on Google and they come to us for some answers. Some of our pages do well on Google, even without search engine optimization, simply because we fill a gap with our resources. Which brings us to our I'll get the hang of this yet. 4 ideas or 4 main design goals that we had when we made our website. And they are live questions, so we want to answer things people really care about. We did a lot of pre-bunking, in other words, really good, solid, reliable information. Focus on local, providing that Allegheny County information. We were told that people had a really hard time finding information about magistrates, for instance. And I'm going to show you, we are going to have, for the general election, we are going to have much more on magistrates and school board members. So, and then lowbrow, we don't want this high reading level. You know, this isn't for intellectuals. This is just for all of us. So now I'll show you one of the graphics. Whoops. So this is kind of the sort of graphics that we do. And this one helps you walk through the website. So that's available on our website. And this is one that I really like, but not many people do. But, you know, I'm like the philosophy a little bit, you know, common ground. We want to solve problems while upholding the Constitution. So we have a lot of civic education kind of things on here. So there's our sources and resources and my email address. And I would like now to sort of walk you through the website, and I'll show you these materials as I go along. One of the things we do, and I'm just going to pass these around, these are called Ready, Set, Vote bags. We give these to Pittsburgh Public Schools and also into our community, because some of our community members don't have internet access, and so we print these, we put these printed materials together that get passed out. So you can just take a look at those. I also have for you, your government officials, this is the old Facts for Citizens. How many of you have ever seen this little blue pamphlet? More people are, sort of familiar with this, but we have it online now with a lot more links, a lot more. It's really easy to use online. That's one thing. I have cards for you with websites, and I can even leave a poster, Claim Your Power, and you just do the old QR code there to register to vote. I know it's talking to the choir with you all, but now I'm going to walk through the website just a little bit, and then we can do Q&A. Let me get my mouse. If you have questions as I go through this, please just shout them out. So this is our website. This is our home page. And on the home page, there is just kind of the most current information. You can get to your government officials here. We have an annual meeting coming up. We march in Juneteenth. We have information, we call it Civic Season, where there's just more civic ed information for people if they're looking for it. These are some graphics that we had for the election, and they're just current, they're not date specific. So roles and duties of all the county row office people and city councils and what they do, county council and judges, and why vote in these municipal elections. Some people consider these off-year elections, and actually these are the elections that really influence us the most. How to pick a candidate, and then we have this nice annotated instruction, which is really just the application, but with some coaching there on how to fill it out. And so that is our homepage. And then if you go up to the menu, we have an About the League tab. We have a very nice, we have a DEI policy where we can, we're very inclusive. We have information about the league, about our history, which is, going back to the 20s, but also our local history, where a lot of different groups came together to become the League of Women Voter of Greater Pittsburgh. Some of them were in different, there were strong ones in Mount Lebanon and the Central City. So that was an evolution there. We have our membership hub. So during the elections, we always have these election pages. And I'll show you, this first one just kind of explained what's the primary? Why can't everyone vote? And so it just gives you information. We are dense with information, so that one is good. And then, of course, this is going to come down now. We always have judicial candidates because it's hard to find that information on judicial candidates, and we're going to have more here about the magisterial district judges. We have some appellate court judges running for election this time, and so it's an important election. Of course, all our local members of all of we have 130 different municipalities, boroughs, cities, townships in Allegheny County, which makes it a little difficult to have information about every single official who's going to get elected, but we try. We have a voter guide that comes out, and we always publicize any forums or anything that will help people understand more about who's running for offices. So this is all about Allegheny County. And we have again, as I said, this candidate guide looks like this. We will, oops, it didn't come up. This will be updated. But people answer a couple of questions. They put in their own information. We don't touch it. However they give it to us, we publish it. And it just has some good information about backgrounds and what people are going to be, what their most important issues are. We have these voting pages, and you can find pretty much anything you need to know about voting. There's a lot of this kind of information out there, but we do have it all in one place, how you qualify, check if you're registered to vote. As longtime voters, you all know this, but it's good for family members, it's good for kids who are moving, young people who are going away on, to another place to have schooling or training, so that's all helpful. This is the civic education program that I was telling you about, our school program. We have a model here. This is a great surprise, but this model, one of our members is a 30-year nonprofit administrator, and she helped me make an actual real model. And believe it or not, this has been downloaded about 700 times. So every time I see that number increase, it just wows me. One of our big projects were these posters. So we sent these we have great funding, and we send these happy birthday posters to every principal in every high school in 5 counties. We did, I probably have it written here, but it was quite an outreach this time, and it bore some fruit because we got some people contacting us from Westmoreland. So we did Beaver, Butler, Westmoreland, Washington, and Allegheny counties. We go to colleges and universities. We help kids understand, young people understand how they can vote. Some of them are out of state. We do presentations there. One thing I'm really excited about, and you may know, do any of you know about the BizTown installation from Junior Achievement? Were any of you ever involved in Junior Achievement? They are an amazing group, and 4th, 5th, and 6th graders go as a field trip to right outside of Bridgeville, and they all are on teams. There's 9 hours of instruction before they go. Well, they have a new civic education module, which their own teachers teach 9 hours before these kids go, and they know how to do everything from writing a check, working, get their checks cashed, having a product, having their product make money. I mean, it was so great seeing these kids in action. We made a graphic there for them with a little bit of civic education. This talks about our committee of 70, and these are our voting. I just passed around this Ready, Set, Voting. It's a big project. We've done 18,000 of these bags over probably 6 or 7 elections. And we do, we're going to try to increase that a little bit this year and get some other schools involved. This is the explainers and graphics page that I told you about, where we have over 50. We have questions here, I forgot to say this. To navigate these pages, you don't have to go through the whole thing. Most of them have questions or some way to kind of drill down to what you really want to know. So we have, the municipal elections, our Vote 411, which is, we have a good candidate information on here, and it is nonpartisan. Election integrity. This little video is quite interesting. I've been a poll worker for 3 years, and I basically took the poll worker training and tried to make it information that everybody could kind of understand. We believe that information literacy is so important right now, so we have these these graphics you could put on social media, posters for students. Anyway. How to choose a candidate. I'll go down here. We have some good information about how to contact officials, understanding PA government, understanding the federal government, kind of the three, believe it or not, sometimes even the three branches of government, the checks and balances, Bill of Rights, what do these labels mean, and then a little more about the League of Women Voters. So. There's lots of resources there, and that does get some play from folks across our state. We have a video library, and I'd like to show you, we've graduated from voiceovers to actually making, of PowerPoints, to actually making sort of real videos. So I'd just like to give you an example of one of them. I just have to say, I believe, this is taken off my hat, I believe in the, sense of decency of all Americans. I think our country has amazing people, and so all this kind of chaotic environment, we just try to lower the temperature, share information, and just hope that this sense of what our country is all about will make us, in the end, hopefully, that's taken off my hat, in the end, things will be good, better for our country. So this has a lot of presentations that folks have made. We have a women's suffrage video here. In the summer, we joined with PCTV 21, and we made 9 videos in their studio. And we had an ASL interpreter for some of that, and it was pretty exciting. So we also even tried to do some for returning and incarcerated citizens, and also for young students. So we're evolving with our videos. That's a way we're really learning more and more. And then we have slide decks, and then as I showed you, that government officials. These pages are super dense. So if you want to know more about the court system, elections in PA, this is our webmaster who never leaves a stone unturned. She's kind of amazing. And there's just always great information in here. That's a little graphic we did. But the court systems can be confusing for people. And as I said, we're going to have even more information coming up. This is kind of cool, to find your districts. and representatives. So she's got all that there with maps. And the new one we just did are this local government, municipalities. We found it's hard to find that local information in one place. So, what does the local government do? Are you a city, a borough, or a township? And what are the services that they provide? If you go to this map, and I'll do my own. I was going to do yours, but I didn't bring the address. Well, Sewickley's here. Let's see. There it is. So say Borough of Sewickley. You're a borough. And then it gives you some facts and figures, contact person, real estate info. But then if you go up here, it also connects to your work website. So in one place, you can get some nice information. And then we have descriptors about what's the difference between a city, a borough, and a township. And that's more info there. Specific info plus all of the 130 listed. So we feel that's sort of unique in a public education page. So can I open the floor to any questions or what you don't see there? Because we are, like I said, always trying to provide information that people really need, that real people really need.
There's an awful lot of work that has obviously gone into what you're showing there. Do you have a full-time staff, or is it all volunteers, or how do you operate?
All volunteers. Yeah, my friend Ruth Quint and I did a lot of the work on the website and on the graphics and everything, and we can blame the pandemic. We were stuck at home, and it just kind of evolved that we decided we liked this stuff. We just tried to learn more and more and more, and it was fun.
There's a wealth of information there. When this last election, I tried to find out about who my magistrates were and everything. Even on the Allegheny County voter website, you cannot find diddly squat. So I'm glad that you guys put this together so that we can understand what their positions are, what they want to do, et cetera, et cetera. I moved here from California, and from the 1950s on, California always published a voter handbook guide, whether it was on candidates or issues such as amendments to the California Constitution, et cetera. You knew exactly what was going on. And when we moved here, there was nothing. Very, very little information. It was disappointing.
I know.
I'm glad to see you guys are doing that.
We try, and C70 has a good voter's guide, but it's not our local. And so we have to fill in the gaps in all the local. So we didn't get the magistrates in, but for the general, we're going to have magistrates, and we're going to have school board member information in there, mini guides that'll give you a lot of information. But I have to say, even if you find out who your magistrate is, they may not have much information about what they believe or what they're doing. And that's why, we also try to promote forums and getting people. We are going to be involved in a couple of forums, and we do that with other community members. Yes, sir.
Do you know what percentage of high school seniors in Allegheny County are 18 years of age or older?
I do have statistics on that, but I don't have it at the top of my head. But I was told that, great, I didn't shut off my phone. Every month, hang on, sorry. I was told every month 10,000 young people turn 18 in our country, and that there's 4 million new voters every year. So young people our kids participated in this last election. Their numbers are still like 40%, maybe 37. They're not way up there yet.
Amy,
Yes, sir.
one of the big issues, and you mentioned in your opening, is the lack of civics education in our school systems.
Yes.
And what is the League of Women's Voters doing in Pennsylvania with the politicians to reverse that situation and create a more complete understanding of PA or US Civics?
Right. They have a bill. I don't know what it is. I'm not good on the details, but I can find the information. There's a bill, they're working on it to make civics or American history in 11th or 12th grade in Pennsylvania. So moving it around. It's not that they don't have it, it's that they don't have it when it matters, when they're older and they can appreciate it and register to vote and become participants. So it's happening. I'm working with the Pittsburgh Public Schools. They're going to be redoing their curriculum to get education, to do just this, to get it more for the older grades, 11th and 12th grade. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have several questions.
Sure.
You said you're all volunteers, but
yes, sir.
It costs money to put up websites and have offices. How are you funded?
Very good question. I should have brought that slide. We have been very generously funded in the past 2 years by the Pittsburgh Foundation. We had the biggest grant ever. We've been funded by the Laurel Foundation, by the Heinz. It's not called the Heinz Foundation, but it's the Heinz Endowment. Thank you. We have members who contribute all the time. We have people who just write us checks. This last election, I don't know, we just get these, donations. Somebody will just write a check for $1,000. We're like, okay, thank you. We won something called the Golden Foundation Award for Civic Education. That was a $7,000 grant. Just they gave it to us with no strings attached. It was an award. A lot of our grants, we also applied to the League of Women Voters US. And through their education fund, they give us, usually $500 to $1,000 for a project, and it's a 6-month project. So we make use of that money too.
Now, are you the only League of Women Voters in Western Pennsylvania?
There's one in Erie. There's one in Westmoreland County now. So yes, the three, if you would say, over in this end of the state, those 3 places.
Now, do you provide information about the counties that don't have league? Like, example, Beaver County doesn't have.
Yes.
Do you provide information on your website for those elections also?
Not specifically for them, no. But there's a lot of information on our website that's for all voters. So we have one of our members lives in Beaver County, and she funnels this information to folks there. But we don't, each league, like Westmoreland County now has their league, so now they are working on their local officials and everything. So.
Now, are you proactive to contact the schools to sign these up, or in other words, you contact the schools, correct?
Yes, and some schools contact us, but yes, we have sort of relationships we've built through the years. Some of the schools we seem to visit every year, but we can do like 10 to 15 schools during like a 2 or 3 month period with the amount of staff we have.
Now, do you try to reach out to the schools that don't have, to the counties that don't have women voted?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. We sent these these posters, the happy birthday poster, to all the principals in every high school in Allegheny, Beaver, Butler, Westmoreland, Washington, did I say Washington? Counties, 5 counties. And we got back requests to come to schools in Westmoreland County. So we went to like 4 or 5 Westmoreland County schools. We racked up 444 miles going to those schools in Westmoreland County.
How about the response at other counties like Butler, Beaver?
No, we haven't heard from them so far. But we have found people tell us our posters were like up at Fox Chapel, they were up at North Allegheny, so we reached some of the schools that have sort of their own vibrant programs, but they put up our posters. So every year we do this, we feel like we reach more people. Some people might have thrown them away. We try to send a letter first, because they might have gotten the tube and just, pitched it, didn't know what it was. So we try to send a letter by mail, snail mail, to make sure they know it's coming. And we're going to do that again this fall.
Amy,
Yes,
you put up a short blurb on voting disinformation.
Yes, sir.
How do you approach the subject, and are you right or left leaning in this area?
We try to talk more about information literacy. So the website that schools use is called, a number of schools use, is called the News Literacy Project. And if you go on there, they have something called Checkology for students. And you can click on and see that really what they do is give students tools. They don't give them specific information. They give them tools to do their own research. And things like All Sides, where they have, news articles on a subject that reach across the spectrum. That's how we approach it. We do sort of an all sides kind of approach to, you've got to find information that you know is reliable. And believe it or not, young people are probably better at that than we are. They know from being online all the time kind of when to recognize a bot. There's this thing going on and on and on. Oh, it looks like a bot. Okay, I'll click off of that. So we aren't as good at that, but us older folks.
Yet we know for a fact that Twitter and Facebook censored a bunch of information. So how do you teach these kids that what they're seeing on what they normally use, which is Twitter and Facebook,
right?
How do you get them to say, well, maybe what they're seeing is not exactly the truth?
We try not to, again, influence them specifically one way or the other.
Okay.
That's not what we do. We provide tools, information, how to. Here, if you want to know about this, here's some tools. Here's some websites. Go there, check it out. Like I said, have any of you ever gone on All Sides? Because it's cool, it'll have like a topic, and it'll have a far right, a sort of leaning right, a middle, a far leaning left, and a far left point of view. Sometimes just 3, but still very interesting, to read across the gamut and see what you think. We don't tell kids how to think. We can't do that.
And so you try to provide them with this information that maybe you should go elsewhere besides Twitter and Facebook and other places.
Exactly. And they, like I said, they're more literate than we are. And their schools do a good job teaching them because they have to do research. They do have to do research. And the schools do a good job teaching them how to get good, reliable information. That's part of, and they call it information literacy. That's where we kind of go with that.
When you're doing a presentation at the high school, what is the level of interest of the students? Are they paying attention, or what's the percentage that are just there to drift off, fall asleep, et cetera?
When we got out of the pandemic last year in the spring, it was very depressing. The kids were really demoralized. They forgot their school skills. They didn't know how to get back into the groove. It's taken a year. This year was so much better. Night and day. They're always interested. They ask good questions. I mean, some kids know, but they are polite. We're high on these kids. They are polite. They listen. They ask good questions. Some of them don't agree with things we say, and we're like, yeah, good. Find out what you believe. So I think in general, we're pretty active. When we have a lot of, we do a lot of stand-up, and then we show them like how many people vote in a certain election. Okay, you sit down, you sit down, you sit down. So they can see visually that hardly anyone votes in municipal elections. They call municipal elections off year, but they're the most important elections that we have. So we illustrate that with them standing up, sitting down. So we're very active in the classroom. We're former educators, so we know we have to do a little, you have to be active and interactive, and you have to talk to them and listen to them when we're in the classroom.
Amy,
yes, sir.
One other major issue that's sort of facing us all today, we're hearing that the National Teachers Organization and many of the teachings that are occurring in our colleges are left-leaning. How are those left-leaning teachings and its impact on the students being offset by other information?
I think, like I said, these issues about our different way of seeing things, I'll put it that way, have been probably amplified in these times now, lately. And I think the most important thing that teachers do, good teachers, And, you know, I'm talking from my own experience, is helping kids have the tools they need to make up their own minds. And that's what I believe good educators do. So it's not telling them this or that, it's helping them, you know, figure it out by going to places that we feel are reliable. Someone has to, you know, we do have ways to determine things are reliable resources. Like we believe our resources are reliable. Everything we do, we vet through our members who are like 50-year members. They've been around a long time and have seen, you know, our country evolve and know so much about our democracy and our history. So, like I said, we just try to stay about the how and not the who. And that's basically all I can say.
One of your slides you put up talked about, and this is, I think, going to be a real hot button this coming election.
Sure.
What is your position on voter identification?
The League of Women Voters is not against voter ID. So, I mean, they may be, you know, I think people portray us as, oh, no, but that's not really true. I think you know, many of our members, I'll just take off my hat for a minute, but many of our members in the, say, 60s, 70s, 80s were Republican women. It's not like, you know, this organization has always been totally a Democratic thing. It hasn't. It's really been, in the past, women from both parties who didn't talk about it and just pursued how do we get good, solid information to all voters. And that's our history. So we have positions, and it's a grassroots way of arriving at our positions. And in the old days, before the internet, these women would get together and study something for a year. And they would go into libraries and study issues. It could be how libraries are funded, I'll say, for instance, or I don't know. They had all kinds of different issues. And they would study both sides. And then they would bring questions from both sides to the population, who would have to the membership, who would have to vote on it during their annual meetings. And then they had to kick it up to the state level and then eventually to the national level before these things became positions. So all the positions, it's on our page, if you look at program, under advocacy, if you look at our program page, it's there, and it shows this intense process of figuring out what positions we support, the League of Women Voters supports. And like I said, it's a grassroots kind of thing.
So if you're not against voter ID, are you for voter ID?
They will come out from, anybody who, from the League of Women Voters will always go back to the League of Women Voters US to see what positions they are promoting.
Is that position being promoted by the U.S. League of Women Voters?
Right. So like it would be supporting a position we have, and they may come out and say, I mean, one thing that we have been always for is access for voters to the polls. So any kinds of laws that restrict access, you know, it would be something that they would care about, but they don't specifically have this issue automatically with voter ID. It really is on, and if